understanding your spinal fracture.
If you've just been diagnosed with a spinal fracture, you'll probably have lots of questions about your condition. I've sustained several spinal fractures, but no one really explained to me why these were happening or what I could do to prevent more from happening. In this short video, we'll explain the basics of spinal fractures. We'll be covering what is a spinal fracture, signs and symptoms of spinal fractures, how do spinal fractures heal, what to do when your spine is healing, ongoing problems you might have, and your risk of further spinal fractures. We'll also let you know how to get further information and support. The first question people normally ask is, what is a spinal fracture? Spinal fractures are common in people with weak bones caused by osteoporosis. You may hear them called vertebral fractures or compression fractures. A spinal fracture happens when bones in your spine become weak and squash down on themselves rather than breaking apart as with other bones. Some people worry that a fracture in their back could damage their spinal cord or cause them to become paralysed, but this doesn't happen with spinal fractures caused by osteoporosis. There are, of course, a number of other symptoms.
I was in Exmoor in a holiday cottage with my 2 children who were teenagers, and we'd come to the end of our holiday and it was time to clean the cottage before we left. I just took this big old heavy hoover out of this cupboard and started hoovering very aggressively the whole cottage. And we got out on time and everything, and then it was in the car, it was a sort of 6.5 hour drive back home, that I started feeling a lot of pain. And then we had arranged a trip to Germany because a friend of mine was turning 60 about 4 days after returning from this holiday. I dosed myself up with painkillers, got on the plane, went to Germany, met the friends there, and I just wasn't able to participate in everything that the other people were doing. So yeah, it was very painful, and it was really hard to keep going. But by that point, I realized that something was wrong, because I couldn't turn over in bed, and moving really hurt. Previous breakages I'd had when I'd broken a wrist or a toe, the doctor had always said, keep moving, you've got to move. And the weaker your bones are, the more you have to move. So I just thought, okay, I'll just keep moving. So I went on short walks during this birthday party and, did short things, but I always did something.
What are the symptoms? As Annette has said, a spinal fracture can cause a number of symptoms, including one or more of the following: unexplained back pain or muscle spasms, height loss, and a curved back or change in your posture. The more spinal fractures you have, the more noticeable these symptoms are likely to be. Not everyone with a spinal fracture gets pain. This means it can often take a while to get diagnosed. Even if you do have pain, this can often be mistaken for something else at first, such as arthritis. How do fractures heal? A spinal fracture usually takes between 6 and 12 weeks to heal, even if you have osteoporosis. Spinal fractures usually heal on their own, without any treatment other than pain relief. You don't need to keep still or wear a spinal brace, and you won't need an operation. Unfortunately, your spine probably won't return to its normal shape. Instead, the spinal bones heal in their new squashed position. This can lead to permanent height loss and a curved back, but there is help available from your healthcare professional. What should I do whilst my spinal fracture is healing?
While you're recovering, you can take steps to help lower your risk of ongoing problems. Stay as active as possible. You might feel afraid of exercising, particularly if you've had a painful spinal fracture, but exercise is very unlikely to cause any further damage to your spine, and it's actually really important to move about and stay active. If you have severe pain, you may need to rest and take it slow to begin with. When you feel ready, you may want to take a pain-relieving medicine to make you more comfortable while you're getting active. Somebody else's experience is not the experience that you're necessarily going to have, so don't be frightened because it may not be that way for you. Eat a healthy, balanced diet with plenty of protein and avoid smoking, as this limits the blood supply to your bones. If tests show your spinal fracture was caused by osteoporosis, your healthcare professional may suggest medication to help make your bones stronger and reduce your risk of breaking more bones in the future.
Will I have ongoing problems?
While some people recover well from spinal fractures, others have lasting changes that affect their daily life, the types of activities they can do, and their independence.
The change of shape to your spine can sometimes cause ongoing pain. You may find it harder to stand or move about, or to look after yourself. For some people, the change in their body shapes puts pressure on their lungs or their digestive system, and this can cause problems with breathing or eating. It's important to speak to your healthcare professional if your symptoms don't improve. There are treatments and things you can do yourself to help manage pain and other symptoms. Living with ongoing symptoms can sometimes affect your emotional well-being. You may start to feel isolated, unhappy, or even depressed. Not everyone has these thoughts and feelings, though. Everyone reacts differently to their diagnosis, and there's no right way to feel. Your doctor or nurse can also suggest people you can talk to about your thoughts and feelings.
After your first spinal fracture, you will have an increased risk of further fractures in the future. That doesn't mean you'll definitely have more fractures, but the chance is greater. It's important to discuss bone strengthening medications with your healthcare professional, as these can help to lower your risk of further fractures. You may know you've had another fracture because you recognise the pain symptoms. You may be getting shorter or notice your back has become more curved. It can be confusing because muscle spasms can be very painful too, so you'll often be referred for an X-ray to check for any new fractures. If fractures keep happening when you are taking an osteoporosis drug, you may need to be referred to a specialist. They might prescribe a different osteoporosis drug to see if that helps. If you do have multiple spinal fractures, there are steps you can take to reduce the impact of spinal fractures on your everyday life and to help you continue doing the things that are important to you and your loved ones.
When I came home and it still wasn't any better, I rang the GP. It was during the pandemic, so they didn't see me. They directly referred me for an X-ray. That took, 2 more weeks. Then I had the X-ray. Then I waited for the phone call about the X-ray, and then they said, oh yes, it does look like there's a sort of triangle. It looks like it could be a squashed vertebra. And she ordered a DEXA scan, and then we had that. And then she said, yes, this is a fracture of your T11. And that must have been the whole thing might have taken about maybe 8 to 10 weeks after maybe 6 to 8 weeks after the break. When I go to the doctor, I often think I don't want to be a burden and I don't want to spend too much time and, waste their time. I think it's really difficult to know what you're allowed to ask and how much time you're allowed to take, especially when you know you're using a resource that is, under pressure like the NHS. Trust yourself. If you feel something's wrong, trust yourself and go and ask for help. Don't be ashamed. And if you don't want to make an appointment with your doctor, start with the Royal Osteoporosis Society, because then maybe the nurse will say, yeah, you really should follow this up. But don't wait, don't leave it.
If you have any questions about spinal fractures, the ROS helpline is here for you.
Please remember that we're here from Mondays through to Fridays if you have any questions or issues that you'd like to discuss with us as a result of watching this video. Calls to our helpline are free and are confidential, and no question is too small. You can also visit our website to find out more about the subjects we've covered, plus a lot more besides. We have a network of support groups across the UK, led by volunteers for the benefit of people living with osteoporosis and broken bones. To find out more, please visit the support group pages of our website. Please do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.